Okay, you're very welcome back to Thursdays Off the Ball. I'm delighted to be joined on the line by Tommy Walsh. How are you keeping, Tommy?
Yeah, how are you, Nathan? Not too bad now.
So you're wearing the very recognisable Darkness into Light t-shirt. You're talking to us on behalf of Electric Ireland, who are very much behind Darkness into Light. And traditionally, on this weekend, thousands upon thousands of people and hundreds of thousands of people around the world will be getting ready to do the walk early on Saturday morning and do the Darkness into Light walk, which is a huge fundraiser for Pieta Ireland. Unfortunately, it can't happen this year, but instead a Darkness into Light sunrise appeal is to take place on Saturday. And what they're doing is they're asking people to come together by remaining apart, by getting up at 5:30 in the morning to watch the sunrise, and also to donate to Pieta Ireland, because, well, recent research has revealed that 1 in 5 Irish people are suffering from depression, and the need for Pieta House's life-saving services have never been greater than at the moment during the current crisis. I'd imagine, Tommy, you didn't hesitate to get involved once you were asked.
Yeah, no, once I got a phone call off Oisin in Langan and there was no problem. It was this weekend, and I think usually last year we had 200,000 people got up and did the walk or the run at 5:30 a.m. And this year they were hoping for 250,000. I mean, you think of it, it was only a couple of years ago when they started, 400 people got up and did the walk or did the run early in the morning. So I suppose this is one of their main fundraisers. It's their main fundraiser. And most of the fundraising that Pieta House does is from the public, so that they need this money. So we're just asking people to get up 5:30. You know, everyone is off kind of at the moment at home or that with COVID-19. So just put in the extra effort and maybe, you know, help out these guys in Pieta, because it's a massive fundraiser and badly needed.
Yeah, and 80% of Pieta's funds come from the general public and from these fundraising events. So €20, even, as they point out, can fund 2 life-saving calls. You can use the hashtag DIL2020 or DIL Sunrise Appeal, but most importantly, get on to darknessintolight.ie and make that donation over the course of the weekend. We spoke to you right at the start of this lockdown, Tommy. We didn't know where we were going to be week on week, month on month. Here we are. I think it's 2 months today, 8 weeks today since the schools closed, since the lockdown officially started. How have you been keeping?
Yeah, like I'm working away from home, so during the day it's kind of much the same as what I was doing. You're going from early in the morning till, you know, about 6 o'clock in the evening. I suppose it's after that, Nathan, is where it all changes. Usually you're rushing out the door. I think we usually have one night off here in the house where we've nothing to do on a specific evening. Every other day you're flat out going somewhere. So it's way different that way. But listen, it's probably you start appreciating maybe time that bit more and time with your family. And we're just trying to dive into the home life since this started. We're not wondering about the what ifs this didn't happen or what if it did. We're just diving into the home life and getting on with it.
I guess you're used to being at home a little bit more since you retired from the intercounty scene, but for so many sports people, life revolves around their sport, and not just your life, your entire family's life, that they sort of have to work to your routine and your timetable. Has it been a bit of a shock to the system for everybody in the house that you've been spending so much time at home?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're looking forward to the COVID-19 finishing so they can get me out of the house again. But that's great for the young fellas. Like, I was only talking to a few people there yesterday, and I was saying to them they'll probably spend less time on their iPads and their tablets over the last 8 weeks than they would have for the previous few months or years, because obviously the weather has been brilliant since this whole thing started. I think we've only had 3 days really of bad weather and of rain. So when I'm home, kind of push them all outside and make sure, you know, it's a much healthier lifestyle. And I find the kids, the first, you know, a few minutes they're giving out, they're not happy, they want to look at something on the television or that. But then when they're out for 5 minutes or more, they love it out there. They love the outdoor life. And yeah, listen, I think they're enjoying it as well. So, you know, usually primary school children, they look forward to going back to school, but I think they're enjoying it at home at the moment.
Yeah, it's a different kind of role for everybody in the family now, because usually when you are getting that half an hour out with the kids a day, and some people don't even get that opportunity because they're just so busy, that it is in a real rush, and there's probably even a stress to that, and you're trying to get them out for a walk or a bit of football. Whereas now, for once, people have time in their hands to have a slightly different relationship with their kids, probably a more fruitful relationship for everybody.
Yeah, I think definitely. You probably realise how busy you are, and maybe life is going too fast. Like I always felt like we're in the digital age now, and technology is brilliant and there's so many advantages of it, but there's still nothing as as great as the outdoor life and just that slower life where you can appreciate what you're doing. You're not going outside and saying, right, I have 10 minutes before I have to rush off to training or I have to rush off to do this or to do that. It's grand that, listen, I have 3 hours here. So if you spend an hour playing with the kids or even doing your own thing, like I've seen all the gardens around Tullerone and Kilkenny, the garages, they've never looked as cleaner as well. I think people are getting into gardening that were never into it. So there is advantages. And I think, I'd say people will realise that maybe there is a lot more to life, that maybe time is one of our greatest things and that we should spend it, maybe not rushing around so much.
And mentally then, Tommy, have you been able to stay positive throughout this? Or are you having dips where the stress and the worry of what's to come gets on top of you?
Yeah, no, like I've mentioned before that, Gerald Nan, I find him a great character to look up to and kind of a great role model. And I listened to his interview on Off the Ball a couple of years ago where he was sick that time. And basically he said he wasn't wishing his life away, saying, I wish that I was better, or I wish I was this, I wish I was that. Why did this happen to me? Gerald Nan was saying, I have to go to the hospital up in Dublin now for a couple of weeks. I'm going to dive into the hospital life. I'm not going to wonder what's happening in the hurling world or the course or anything else. Whatever the doctors asked me to do, I'm just going to do it. And he kept that positive mindset, and I thought it was brilliant. And I've tried to, I read a lot of books as well, Nathan. So I tried, I work hard at keeping positive. So that's the way I took this from the start. I wasn't going to be worried about missing a year of hurling or missing this or missing that, or what's the future? What can we do now? And so now it's home life at the moment. So that's all. I'm fully diving into that life at the moment, Nathan. So yeah, that's how I'm staying positive. Another few things is I get up early.
Right.
I get up between 6 and 7 every morning. And I just find when you get up early, the day is ahead of you, and it's great. You're kind of ahead of everything. Then working at home then has its challenges too, regards you can be sitting at the desk there all day from 8 in the morning till the evening time. So I make sure and drink water. And I wouldn't be a great man to drink water. I bring up the bottle, 750 mils in the morning, and I bring it up again after my lunch. So very important, I find. And I find a massive difference when I don't drink the water regards my energy levels. I nearly say, it's like a drug really.
Yeah.
The energy that you can get off it. And you would only appreciate it when you are drinking it. The other thing as well is I keep my lunches. So I do take my lunch hour, even though you're working at home. I get outside a few pucks, maybe go for a walk, go for a run. So, I work hard at it and feel all the better for it.
Yeah, the working hard aspect seems to be the key thing there, that being positive and feeling positive isn't something that necessarily is just going to come naturally to people. You need to plan your day. You need to think how you can get yourself into that frame of mind, that you're not letting your mind wander. You're not getting obsessed with the news. You're not getting obsessed with the negativity. That actually, if you're just floating through life, that's probably what is going to dominate. But if you do sit down and think, how can I push that to one side and give my day a focus? Is that something that because of your, and maybe it's not, maybe it's just your own personality, but because of the discipline that you led through your hurling career, or maybe you got from sport, that you found came a bit easier to you, been able to work out a plan for the day that gets you in the right frame of mind?
Yeah, the sporting world and the hurling, that definitely has helped, because it probably kept me focused, and you're always trying to improve and always trying to get better. So you're reading books, you're watching documentaries, you're watching great sports people, on the television or DVDs or whatever you can get your hands on, really, Nathan. So you're improving all the time. So yeah, definitely it has helped the sporting world. And there was a few weeks ago during this COVID-19 where I think we were off. I'd say it was Good Friday, so we were off the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'd say they were the 4 hardest days that I've spent during this. Why? Because I didn't plan that, obviously, and I didn't, you're just kind of tipping through, and every day was like the previous day. Towards you're used to a working week. On Friday, you kind of get that Friday feeling. There's no doubt about it. You're buzzing for the weekend. Then you're feeling a bit bad Sunday night, but you get on with work then for the week, and back around. So I think you need a focus, and for people maybe that are, I'd say it's toughest for people probably living in the towns, Nathan, where they can't probably get out and about, maybe children, small children, and it's probably tough for people that are not working as well. And if you could kind of, come up with some sort of a plan, even if it's to do something maybe out in the garden or do something in the house, some sort of a focus. Like, David Herity, great character and a brilliant guy in the Kenny panel for years. Like, we have a WhatsApp group, he started this Bring Sally Up challenge. And we're getting great crack out of it, And
what is it?
The the Bring Sally Up challenge. So it's
Go
a
on.
push-up challenge. You'll find it on YouTube.
Okay.
And yeah, if you complete the challenge, you do the push-ups in line with the music. And if you complete the challenge, you stay going to the end, which is about 3 minutes, 25 seconds. So now the only thing is, there was holes in the story because he came out with the challenge, say, of a Tuesday. By the Wednesday, he had it completed. So we reckon he was practicing for the last 12 months. So that's it. Say, put it into perspective. Like, I'm at 1 minute and 30 seconds at the moment.
Okay.
And, you know, and to get 3 seconds, 5 seconds improvement is difficult. So that's great. And we're knocking great out, crack out at the moment. So it just gives you a focus. You take one day off as well. So if I do it a Tuesday, you don't do it again Wednesday, you take the day off. So everyone's kind of buzzing for 2 days later to see who's improving and who's doing well, you know.
So how many press-ups are you doing?
So you wouldn't be doing that many. You're going to music. You nearly have to see it. So you're going up along with the music. Yeah, and you could be holding, we'll say, for 10 or 15 seconds at the bottom.
Well, we'd Ray Moylett doing 1,000 press-ups in an hour a couple of weeks ago. Could we get Tommy Walsh doing something similar?
Well, I'm only at 1 minute and 30 seconds in this, so I'd say 1,000 in a week.
It'll be a while. So of the former Kilkenny greats, aside from cheating David Herity, who's leading the way?
JJ.
JJ, still got it.
JJ's next. Yeah, I think he's at around 1 minute and 50 there. I see one coming in there this morning.
Right.
Yeah.
It's getting properly competitive.
Yeah, it is. No, it is great crack now.
How's Henry doing?
Henry's doing well as well. He's come. I'm not sure. It's either him or Hoagie in third place. You know, the rest of us are kind of up and down. You might have a good day and a bad day. So everybody's trying to coach us along how to do it as well.
Are there age grades? Like, are you the masters and then the younger lads are in a different section?
Yeah, well, there's only a couple of us in it. It was for some we were going away one day or something like that. There's only a couple of us in it, and you know, we don't be in it that much. But the odd time we're in it, Herity might try a challenge or something to us, like, you know.
You said one of the things you're doing to stay positive as well, you're reading a lot of books. What sort of stuff are you reading at the moment?
Well, I got the Harry Potter books for Christmas, so
I thought it was the brother that was the Harry Potter obsessive.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he's a good influence. Yeah. So, well, what I'm actually watching at the moment is the Last Dance. So they come out every month, and I haven't seen this week's 2 episodes yet. I haven't persuaded Marlies to watch them with me just yet, so I have to find a spare hour or two of my own. But I'm finding that incredible, and yeah, it's amazing. It kind of is a real good picture of the sporting world at that level, like, you know, and the dressing room kind of, and what goes on. But so that's what I'm watching at the moment. Book wise, like my favorite book that I've ever read was The Alchemist. It's kind of about destiny and this kind of a thing, so that would be my favorite book. But last book that I read was the Harry Potter, The Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, The Alchemist is one that comes up quite a bit when you talk to sports people. We'd Rhys McClenaghan, the gymnast, that brilliant young gymnast who would have been going to Tokyo this year with a real hope of winning a medal, and he said the exact same thing. The Alchemist was the one that he was going back to again and again. Yeah. I know you've been talking over the last few days about hurling, and you mentioned there that, you know, in some ways missing it, but trying not to focus on that. We have now confirmation from the GAA in the last 24 hours that there'll be no inter-county hurling until October at the earliest, and that their sense is no real appetite for hurling behind closed doors. Training is to stop for inter-county teams. It doesn't seem as though there's going to be any club sessions even, or club games till July. Like, what was your initial reaction when you heard that come through yesterday?
I'm sure, Nathan, you're listening to the WHO and the HSE. Like, you have to. They're the experts. They're giving the proper advice. So listen, whatever they announce, I'm happy with. Like, they say there's no appetite behind closed doors, but I'd say reading between the lines, there's no appetite to play and the worry of a team infecting each other with this coronavirus, and then it spreads through your family and whatnot. I think that's the big issue, Nathan, and that's the one that we will struggle to get past. You know, I'd say until they come up with a solution that the players can play without passing it on, because we know this isn't going to finish overnight. That it's all to do with education and good habits of social distance. And well, can you social distance in the GA world? I don't think so. And until they can prove a safe way of doing that, I'd say there will be very little appetite from players to go back and play.
It's hard to see, as you say, in a match situation, how we can get back to that any time. And certainly, as you say, it's ruled out till October now anyways. But in terms of training, which is also ruled out until July 20th, it would be possible, you'd imagine, to set up sessions where players don't need to come into contact with each other, where there's a lot of fitness work, a lot of ball work, and the players do get to still interact. Do you think if there's no games at the end of that, for both club and county, that the desire would still be there for players to go out and just, I don't want to say train for nothing, but just essentially train for themselves, not for the club, not for county, not for the competitive edge, but more just to keep themselves fit?
Yeah, I think people would do anything now to get out of their houses and to meet people, really, Nathan. I think this is all so new to us, and it's hard to break habits. We know in Ireland, we're very much community-based, we're very much family-based. You know, like, we don't stay away in our houses or stay away from each other for terribly long. And we do miss, it's that Irish kind of family sense. So I think it's the habit of the social distancing is our biggest challenge. It's that when you do meet, there'd be no problem if you're poking around, I'd imagine. But when you do meet, will lads keep the two meters distance, or will it just gradually end up lads standing beside each other having a chat and this and that? So I think it's going to be slow to break our habit of, shaking hands, hugging each other, meeting family members, close friends and that. I think it's the habit of keeping this social distancing is what the government and the GA are trying to enforce. And I think it will take a while for it to do. Like, I think, was it one of the countries, was it South Korea, where they had SARS and they were able to go into lockdown and social distancing. They were much better at the social distancing at the very start. So there's countries like ourselves at the very start weren't, exactly brilliant at it, and it's took us a while. And I think we're doing a good job at the moment. But I think these things take time, and I'd say they're probably afraid that if they allow people to go back training, the kind of social distancing will be a challenge.
And then you get into big inter-county games, and like, how far down the track is it before we can have a full Gaelic grounds or Semple Stadium or even Croke Park in All Ireland Day? And that's where the behind closed doors aspect may come into it from October. And there's obviously media rights, and there's a financial reason for that to happen, certainly for the GA, and making sure that can continue as an organisation. As players, as amateur players, do you think there will be a desire for an All Ireland Championship behind closed doors?
I'd say so. So if we take it that it's safe to go back as a player from a player's point of view, would they be happy to play behind closed doors? I'd say to go back in a heartbeat. I know I would. I know plenty of guys I know would. Just go back to when you're an under 13 or an under 14 playing the county final game, or maybe a local tournament final, and you won it. Sure, it was unbelievable. You didn't care if there's 10 people at it or if there's 50 people at it. You won that competition and you're on a high. So I would imagine the players would be absolutely head over heels to go back and play, whether that's with a crowd or without a crowd. I think that once it's safe to do so from a player's point of view, I don't think it'll matter who's at the match.
What are you doing at the club at the moment? Is like, obviously there's nothing you can do collectively, but as a team, are you in regular contact with each other? Like, is there a support system in place for? Like, I'm sure in a community like Tullaroan, there's a lot of people who have lost their jobs over the last few weeks. Have you seen the club come to the fore in any ways over the last few weeks?
Yeah, well, we're a small club anyway. There's 600 people there, so kind of everyone looks after their neighbours anyway, Nathan. The hurling club have offered, obviously, to help out through various text messages and, through word of mouth. So there's plenty of help there from the hurling club, but you find mostly in these small communities, their neighbours will help out. So any older person or anyone that needs something from the shops or that, it's nearly their neighbours are there for them, because everyone kind of knows each other so well. So regardless of hurling club, what are we doing then? Like, we have the WhatsApp group as most teams for just sending out maybe, do a couple of runs maybe a week, 2 or 3 times a week. So nothing really, overly tough, but it's good for our mental state as well, Nathan, that you have a focus where you have to get in 3 runs this week or maybe 2. So it's simple enough, really, and it's just lads to use their common sense, really.
Who's in the picture beside you?
Here. That's Christy Ring and Mick Mackey. That's one of the greatest photographs I'd say was ever taken. So Mick Mackey, at that time, they were the two greatest hurlers probably ever played the game. Mick Mackey was an umpire here. Christy Ring got injured and was walking off. So there's a famous saying over, what did Mackey say to Ring? So that was a good photo.
I see you've confirmed that you're not going to go into inter-county management. You've ruled yourself out of the running to succeed Brian Cody. You're sticking with the Tullaroan under sixes.
That's it, yeah. I wouldn't get any enjoyment out managing a team like that. Because I just find that it's more like a job where you're organising everything. So your first protocol is to organise training, organise physios, organise, when lads aren't going, we'll ring them up, see what's going on in their lives. We've seen from, I suppose, previous articles, managers are now putting in 30, 40 hours a week towards. That was never my thing. I was never the most organised hurler where I had everything planned. I just went out and played. Went out every evening if I wanted and had a few pucks practiced. But I wasn't 6 to 7 I'm doing this, 7 to 8 I'm in the gym. Right, I'm going to drink 3 litres of water, measure it. I'm going to look at the back of the food cartons to see what calories. You just played on instinct really more than anything. So I find manager, that's what it's kind of like. Towards when I'm with the young lads in Tullaroan, you're just down kind of shooting the breeze with them and you're trying to help them on. And when you see a young lad maybe doing a flick or catching a ball and, he comes over to tell you and you give him a clap in the back, you might give him a new hurling ball and off he goes skipping out the door or out the gate. So that's what I love, Nate.
Yeah. When you're coaching those young lads, what's the number one skill you're trying to teach them? What's the one thing when maybe there's not just one thing, but what's the real focus when you have guys and girls who are 6, 7, 8, that the one skill you think would last them?
Well, you see, my lads range from 3 to 7. So,
well, the 3 to 7-year-olds then.
So there's a lot going on in this session, and you have to be able to manage different guys. The 3-year-old needs a lot more. You kind of have to lay him off. You can have more of one-to-one with the 7-year-old. So there's a lot going on there, Nate, to be honest about it. And the one thing I would say is you actually have to be very organised for that training session. And, but listen, it's not just me. For our under 7s, we could have 7 lads involved because you'd be able to manage about 2 or 3 of them on your own because so what you're trying to go through the stages, Nate, and it depends. The 3-year-old, you're trying to get him just to run around. Really, you're just happy he's running around. Really, he might never hit a ball in the training session. So as a 7-year-old, you're probably trying to get him to hit off both hands maybe and rise the ball, the basics
Yeah, I need some advice because somehow down in Jude's, I end up coaching hurling from time to time, and I'm watching the 7-year-olds how they hold the hurl, going, "Oh, that must be how you do it." So if I could come with some Tommy Walsh info, I'd suddenly have huge respect amongst the other coaches. I'll get you in a Zoom call just before I do every session.
You're off on your own. Every man for himself here.
But it sounds like what you're saying then, maybe the Brian Cody, that management role may not be for you. A sort of Dan Shanahan to Derek McGrath type role where it's the more hands-on coaching, just been around, where there's still a manager telling you where to be, when and where, but actually been around players and little tidbits of information that might suit you.
Yeah, that'd probably suit me better, but to be with Tullaroan, I've no desire to leave to go to any inter-county, whether it's Kilkenny or anyone else. I've no desire to go to any other club. My dream is to get our lads up and maybe challenge for county finals over a long number of years. That would be my dream, and that's when I'd probably die happy. So, the hurling field is 10 minutes down the road. Out, go left, you're down there. It's one of the most beautiful settings for a hurling field. Like we've the athletics club down there, the soccer guys are playing some days, the mothers and others, the camogie club. Like the place is just a hive of activity every evening. So it's just a wonderful place to go. So my dream really is to go down there and maybe get old there and spread me ashes there then in about 50 years time.
Yeah, well, hopefully everybody gets back out in that pitch very, very soon, because I think it's badly needed at this stage. Tommy, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. You've been supporting Pieta's Darkness into Light. The walk would have taken place this weekend, but on Saturday at 5:30, they're asking everybody to get up early and share a special moment, for everybody to come together by staying apart, of course, and watch the sunrise, and also to donate. Get on to darknessintolight.ie, even €20 to make a huge difference, because we said 80% of Pieta's funds come from the general public. So do get involved in that. Tommy, take it easy.